What I've done today is put my little box with the cutout in it, the little cardboard box, painted black inside for my environment for these strawberries. And I have used my dark Alizarin Crimson, burnt Sienna, ultramarine blue to make a dark background. This is another form of it right here, but it's just thinned down with turpentine. And now I'm going to get a little paper towel here and kind of wipe out some of the areas for the composition of where I'm going to place these. Doesn't have to be exact by any means, just ballpark. One's here, and there's a hint of one back here, and one there. Okay, and so kind of just placing where these are going to be. Shadow up in there. Get a little bit smaller brush to place them. And the foreground is actually very light, so I'm going to wipe some of this out. Put a little bit of terp on this to help lighten it even more. I'm going to raise up the edge of this tabletop though, so to make sure it's going to get into the painting even after it's framed. Alright, now I want to mix a dark, I'm going to start with my darks. I may still use this pile here, but it's a dark red strawberry color that I'm going to use. I want this darker. This is going to be the areas that are the most in shadow. I don't know if you can tell this on camera or not. I hope so. But I'm basically just squinting down, trying to find the darkest shapes on these strawberries. It's got some dark edges back in there that as it comes into the light, it starts to lighten up, but you need these dark areas here to help it, you know, look 3D. All right, and there's some on this one here. And they, you know, little paintings like this are just fun little paintings. I find that they sell extremely well because it's just a, you know, a fun little thing that can go in any kitchen. And people, you know, that aren't used to collecting art, this is a good way for them to get started. You know, some people are afraid to even buy art because they think they're going to make a mistake, or they just don't know enough about it to know what it is that they're doing, so they just avoid it altogether. And so this is a fantastic way to get people started to doing this, and they just buy a simple little painting. It doesn't set them back very much, you know, and it's a way to have original artwork in their home, and they just love it. Okay, I'm lightening this up just ever so slightly. I'm squinting down at what I'm seeing. I'm waiting to put the greens in until I get these reds laid in. I'm going to wait on that. And a little painting like this is just a 6x8. It takes so little time to do it that it doesn't, you know, it's just a good exercise to use, just to, you know, to have to do something every day. You know, if you're not quite sure what to paint, this is a great way to say, you know what, just for the sake of painting, I'm going to paint this today. And that way you keep your skills up. Now you notice I have not drawn out every little strawberry. I'm just putting marks of color down that represent an area of those strawberries. I have in no way drawn out, you know, outlined them. That's not what it's about. It's about looking and seeing what's in front of you and observing the colors, the shapes that you see, and how bright those colors are. And once you get all those colors in place in the right positions, that's when it all comes together and says exactly what it is that you're trying to say when you're painting. And if you're not particularly fond of strawberries, go ahead and, you know, look around the kitchen and see what you've got, or else take a trip to the grocery store, and then, or the next time that you go, just make sure you pick up something that looks interesting to you and bring it home and see what else you could either add to it or just paint that alone, you know, just see what interesting kind of composition you could come up with. Set it in a plate or a cup, whatever works with what you've got going on. Now, most of the time I'm just putting the color down and leaving it. I don't mess with it too much. If anything, I might make another stroke, but it's not, you know, I'm not just sitting there messing with the paint. Try to go in there and just lay it down and leave it. It works best that way, if you can do that. Because if you just keep messing with it, it dilutes it down, and the more strokes you put into it, the less you're going to be happy with it, believe it or not. And if you can just leave it there, you're going to be more happy with what you're doing. Just put it in and just leave it. Mix. If you're going to mix any paint, do it down here on the palette. See here. Using the solvent-free gel for some areas here. Now let's work on some stems here. And the reason why painting like this one here works very well, because you have the red and the green playing off of each other, which, you know, they are opposites, so it gives it harmony to the painting when you have colorations and, you know, like that. Okay, let's see here. Put in the darker areas first, and then you can come back in with some nice pretty little highlights. Now, we don't want to overdo it with the leaves. We don't need that many to say, hey, these are strawberries. We just need a few well-placed little leaves, and that's it. Strawberry little leaves grow in all kinds of crazy little weird directions. Okay, and then this is very vague back in here. We don't want to overdo that part there. It's very dark. Just barely a hint. Of the leaves back there. So for that to stay back into the shadows, we have to have that just ever so slightly, have a gentle hand in doing those leaves there. And if you see that, you know, one leaf or something isn't working in your composition, you can always go back and change it. That's the beauty of oil painting. Alright, let's put in some, a little too light. Let's warm it up a little bit. Let's see, I want to come in with the background color, a really dark color around this here. I'll shave that in just a bit. And so when we go back over the background and really make it solid, you can come in and draw around some of that and make it look like this right here. You can refine your drawing some more. We don't want it to look cut out, but there's areas where you could come back in and make that more accurate. Any areas that have more light can always have thicker paint, because the light is stopping in those areas and catching on there, and it is, you know, when you put the thicker paint on there, it also stops the eye, and that can help your composition. Let's see, I'll make a little light spot here. Get a level of this, and let's try this out. This is, I don't want it green, but it's just a lighter area through here, right around the top of the strawberry. Just to make it a little more like a strawberry. Now I'm not going to go and put every little single dimple in these, but it helps to just kind of throw a few in there to let people know what this is. You don't want them not to understand that this, you know, these are strawberries. And in order for that to happen, you need to put a few of these in. And just like there are light dimples, there are also some dark dimples. So it's helpful to put some of those in too, to show the texture. Now I want to go back and establish some of the shadows up underneath. This here is really what makes things pop off of the canvas. And if you like, you know, you don't have to use this little box that I use for this. I like paintings that have a lot of contrast and drama. You know, that may not be your thing. So you could definitely go back and set it up differently. You could put it, you know, just on in a plate with a lot of light on it. You know, a light and airy painting. That would be great too. Try it different ways. Do a whole series of strawberries. And I have found whenever I started learning, just watching people, watching the brush strokes, that's why I do this, you know, the videos. Even, you know, you may not be able to put into words what somebody's doing, but just seeing it done is huge. Because you can learn so much more that way, I find. You know, how their process, how they went about doing the painting, what came first, which layer, what they did or didn't do, or if they wiped something out. There's all kinds of things you can pick up on and learn. Just observe. As much as you can, always observe. There's a leaf coming out here. Okay. And do a little more shadow work. Oh, I want to make this a little bit lighter shadow because it's kind of it's not a cast shadow really on some of this area back in here. Some of it's cast and some of it's just a shadow that's kind of diffused back in there. And I'm going to put a little bit of transition back here too between the shadow and the deep recesses of the painting, and as it comes into the light. because it's really not a sharp edge. I'll take a dry brush and smooth that out a little bit. Now I'm not just going over it, over it, and over it. I'm kind of just, you know, this is kind of another way you can do it. Just kind of wiggle it on there. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this bluish kind of color. And since this is kind of, I'm going to go over it here in a minute, but this is kind of a yellow color. The box that it's sitting on. And so since it's yellow, I'm going to use some blue for the edge of that. And take some brown. And just to give it a change of plane here, I'm going to do this, but then I'm going to go back and wipe out. I don't know why that's there. And I want it irregular. I don't want it so, because I know some of you are going to be tempted to just sit there and go like this and completely fill it in. You don't need to do that, okay? I just kind of randomly put it on there with some strokes here, nothing in particular. And then I'm going to go back, wipe some of it out, leave some of it to give a very natural and randomness look to the edge of the box. Some is going to be wiped out a little more than others. Doesn't all have to go the same way. Just leave it random. And then I'm going to add a little more yellow to that mixture and some white. And let's try this out. Let's try it right. It's a little too gray. I'm going to warm it up just a little bit. I'm going to need a little more white. And I don't want this to take over the painting. I don't want it to be so bright that it's going to... I'm trying it out just a little at a time, as you see. I've got shadows going on there that I want to try to hang on to. So this needs to be a little lighter than the shadows going on, but not so bright that it's taken over the painting, because that's off to the sides is not where you want your lightest light to be. And I'm going to let some of that, the underpainting, show through. This is by no means a solid, you know, wiping this across here and making a solid color of it. I'm letting some of the background show through and just kind of scumbling over the top of this, which just changes the whole dynamic of this thing. To me, I just love doing stuff like this. Love, love, love it. Okay, now something like this, a little tiny painting, I usually just put my initials when I sign it. I don't try to put my whole signature because it just takes away from the painting. So I don't usually do that. I'm going to put a little more on the edges here. And I'm not drawing a line either. I'm making a line here randomly with this long brush. Add a little bit of that color down there, but I'm letting a lot of the other color show through. There's the undertone, then there's this brown color, and now I'm putting this cool color on top of that, which kind of just adds a whole different dimension to it. I think I like that. Okay, now I'm going to sign it. But let's see. Sometimes I'll add more paint in an area, not so obviously, so I can scratch in my name, but I don't know that it's going to do that here. Yeah, maybe. Okay, let's try it.